I need to mute myself over there. Good. We are all set. You guys have access to the little chat in YouTube. So if you do have any specific questions that come up or any questions for the tarot cards that you want answered, go ahead and put them in the chat. And we are in a really exciting period right now. And I'm going to be shuffling and talking about what we have to look forward to coming up, not just this weekend, but into next week. So those of you who have been joining me for a while know that since May, I've been talking about this very important thing called Venus retrograde. And we are nearing the end of the Venus retrograde cycle. Let's recap what has gone on for us so far. So in May, Venus was in Gemini and started going backward or appearing to go backwards in the sky. And in the early and middle of May, you might have gone out at night and you might have, just after the sunset, looked out and seen in the sky this beautiful, giant, huge, big star. And it's so big that a lot of people think that it's a UFO, and it's glorious and it's huge. And then when Venus starts going retrograde, Venus will appear at a lower and lower position in the sky as we are passing it, and as it's what appears to be retrograde, right? And that's when a story begins, right? Venus goes backwards and then she becomes invisible. We don't see her anymore because she's gotten so close to the sun that the brightness of the sun overpowers her. And when that happens, our story really kicked off and began, our Venus retrograde story. And you heard me talk about this last week. Really, really sad and tragic situation with the murder of George Floyd. And that was May 25th, when Venus was no longer able to be visible in the sky because the brightness of the sun overpowered her. And the sun, when we're talking about astrology, often symbolically refers to authority. It refers to, leaders. It refers to sometimes the system. And so there's many kind of symbolic situations that might happen in our life where authority seems to, in our Venus retrograde story, kind of dominate and be overpowering and be, and especially with Jupiter retrograde, in a really kind of negative way. But we started to see a sort of happy, not happy, a form of justice start to happen last week when Venus was conjunct the sun. This is a very rare incident that happens in the Venus retrograde cycle when Venus has gone backwards and then passes the sun. Right at the moment where Venus was exactly conjunct the sun, which only lasts for a few hours, that was when it was announced publicly that the additional 3 officers would be charged, and that the charges against the murdering police officer was increased to second-degree murder. So that's a powerful moment for justice, and we sort of start to see justice happening, right? So now we are entering this weekend a new part of the Venus retrograde story, And that is when Venus is separating from the sun, and she is becoming visible no longer at night, but in the morning. So if you get up early before the sun rises, you can go out and you can look at the horizon and you can see Venus in the morning sky before the sun rises. And this is a very powerful time for justice, for harmony in the world, for fairness, and for all the things that Venus fights for. Now, we still have a long way to go in this story as it's going to progress with Venus retrograde. She's still going backwards. She's still appearing to go backwards in the sky from our position on Earth. And towards the end of the month, she's going to start going forward again, or appearing to go forward. And there's been a date that I've been telling everyone to watch out for, and that is July 17th. Because on July 17th, Venus will pass the part of the sky that she was in when she was conjunct the sun. And usually that indicates a completion of the story. And I'm really hoping for something related to fairness in the country, in the world. Maybe a law gets passed, maybe the charges are increased, maybe the trial begins. We'll have to wait and see what happens on July 17th, but it's going to be a major, really important moment, I think, in the completion of the story. And I'm loving how we have questions already. I'm shuffling right now. The cards aren't jumping out at me right now. So I like to kind of continue to shuffle while the cards are, until the cards tell me that they want to come out. So something interesting about July 17th, which is unrelated to justice, which is a really, important theme that we are seeing right now play out in the collective. But I think it might be something related to the pandemic. And that is that Disneyland, my friend Bree, who's in the chat right now, messaged me saying that Disneyland would be opening on July 17th. And she messaged me because I've been saying, pay attention to what happens on July 17th. Pay attention to what happens on July 17th. And so Bree messaged me saying, Disneyland is announcing that it's going to open on July 17th. And I said, we have to look at that. So we found out that Disneyland actually opened for the first time in 1955 on July 17th. So it's like Disneyland's birthday at 2:30. And I paused there for a moment because all of a sudden, like, this card jumped out. So I feel like this is a card that everyone who's watching today needs to see. And that is the 10 of Pentacles. So if you guys have had a question about something that's happening in your life right now, the card that jumped out is the 10 of Pentacles, which is an extremely positive card. And I feel like this, for you guys watching, this is related to something that's going to happen between now and July 17th. This is a really powerful card for material wealth. Also, it indicates kind of giving to the next generation. So sending out information. So this is a very positive thing to all of a sudden jump out as I was shuffling. So today we're going to look at the astrology of Disneyland because I found some really interesting things when I was looking at the chart for Disneyland, and also what's going to be happening for Disneyland on July 17th when it claims to open. So I saw some questions in the chat, and I want to get to answering those tarot card questions. So Tanya asked, should she move out now? Is now or the next couple of months the right time to move? Excellent. So let me shuffle. I'll put the 10 of Pentacles back and shuffle. So something to think about is it might be a really good time just astrologically to wait until the Venus retrograde cycle is over before you move out. Because Venus, which is the planet that deals with, like I said, harmony, that deals with bringing you good things, bringing you luck, bringing you comfortable accommodations, is being obscured by the sun right now. But this weekend we're going to be able to start seeing her, but she'll still be retrograde, and she'll be in a more powerful position after July 17th. So I would just say astrologically, if possible, wait until after July 17th to begin looking for a new place to live or moving out. But let's see what the cards say. Like I said, sometimes like, you know, the astrology will kind of say like, you know, things are, the energy right now might be challenging, but the cards might say, hey, do it anyway, even if the energy is challenging, right? So I'm shuffling and no cards are jumping out right now, but I'm going to continue to shuffle. And so you guys feel free to post in the chat any additional questions that come up. Okay, cool. So for Tanya, I got the Page of Cups and the Four of Wands reversed. So what do these mean? The Page of Cups means that you are probably going to get a message coming in related to something emotional in nature, possibly a creative project, possibly an opportunity, a creative opportunity that might be coming in for you, Tanya. Maybe the new house that you might be moving to, or the new place that you might be moving to, the landlord or the person that you'll be living with might be a water sign. But this says to me that wait, and something is going to come to you. An opportunity or a living situation is something that's going to come to you. The Four of Wands reversed is telling me that the Four of Wands is a very positive card. It's a card that indicates victory. It's a card that indicates often, you know, a celebration of some sort, like a wedding. It can sometimes indicate like a victory over something. And but the reverse, it indicates that there's something that either it's delayed, it's not happening right now, or it's temporary. Let me pull a third card and see what what the third card is saying about moving right now. Let's see. You know, and it could also be time. The Four of Wands reverse could be saying that the four is a fast card, so it could be saying the time is soon, but because it's reversed, not now necessarily. I'm shuffling I want a third card for clarification on whether Tanya should move. I feel like because the Page of Cups was the first thing that popped out, that's telling me that it's coming to you. The perfect living situation is coming to you. Someone is coming to you with a message about your living situation. Ooh, two cards popped out. Oh, wow. So the Nine of Pentacles and the Empress. This says that you're in a really good position. And the Nine of Pentacles says that possibly there might be some money coming your way, or there might be an opportunity to save money with a living situation that's coming up that might give you the opportunity to save money. And because it's an emperor, the Empress card is also pulled. It's showing that you're in a really good position. So it's not like you have to like actively go out searching for that new apartment or that new house. Something is going to come to you at just the right time. The Nine of Pentacles is also the card that indicates waiting. So a couple of the cards and the astrology is telling me that regarding your living situation, you might want to wait and not move out just yet, but wait a little bit, and the perfect situation is going to come to you, and you will know what that situation is, and then move out at that time. Does that kind of answer? And please let me know if you want any like clarifying cards there. Sorry, I just needed to plug in my laptop there. Hey, anyone else have any questions for the tarot cards? So while I'm shuffling again, if you guys have any other questions, I want to talk about what is coming your way in the second half of 2020. So, and interesting how it's all connected to Disneyland. An interesting thing is that Mars is going to be moving into Aries, and so it's going to be squaring the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter stellium of planets that was in Capricorn. And the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction was kind of what tipped off the pandemic. And with Mars squaring the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which is going to, again, happen at the end of June, there's going to be another escalation, and another increase in intensity around the pandemic. Maybe it'll be a second wave. Maybe it will be people becoming extremely agitated, and maybe a rise in tensions. But we're going to see a lot of rise in intense energies from June to January, and it's going to be much more intense than it was during the first half of the year. Okay, so Bree is asking, will I get married and have a kid? I'm shuffling my cards. Shuffling, shuffling. Shuffling, shuffling. Bree's asking, will I get married? Okay, so this is the Four of Cups, showing that someone is coming to you with an offer. See the little cloud in the cup? Someone is coming to you with an offer, and you are under the tree saying, nope, not good enough. Nope. You might be interested in me, but you're not good enough. No. So you're very selective. No, a second card jumped out. So the Four of Swords. This is asking you to wait. And every time I see the Four of Swords, this is saying, think about the ideal partner that you want. Think about, and really, this is the card of meditation. Think about the person that you want. Mentally picture them. Mentally dream about them. You have to send out that mental picture of what you want, and use the law of attraction. So these are both fours. This is a very, very stable energy. the fact that 2 4s came out is very auspicious. This indicates, I feel like 2 cards jumped out. It's always, whenever there's 2 cards that jump out, it's always asking me for a 3rd card. So this kind of tells me that there's a story taking place here. There is a story of someone, you know, expressing interest and you saying, no, not good enough, which is good. Be selective, because gosh, it's miserable living with someone who is a miserable person, not right for you, not good. And the Fool was the 3rd card that popped out. This is asking you to take a risk and put yourself out there. The Fool card is at the beginning of a journey and jumping out to take that risk and take that first step and put themselves out there. And so this is saying, go out there, be vulnerable, you know, do what you have to do to meet people. The 3 cards adding up together is 8. 8 is a very auspicious number, right? So 4 plus 4 plus 0 is 8. That's the infinity symbol. That is, you know, 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups is all really good energy that points to success. But it's saying that you can't just sit back and wait for the thing to come to you. You have to go out and you have to put yourself out there, and you have to put yourself in a position to meet that right person, right? And make that choice. And that's where we do have free will, you know. And yeah, anyone else have any questions that come up? Because I have so many things to say about Disneyland. I want to share some Disneyland astrology with you, but I'm also happy to continue to pull cards as they come up. Hey, Lauren, so glad that you could see. So happy that you can be here. And Lauren, if you have any questions for the tarot cards, feel free to ask in the chat there. So you guys, while I'm shuffling, I'm going to pull one more card for everyone. While I'm shuffling, pay attention to what happens this weekend, because when Venus goes direct, and if you get a chance, if you might be feeling yourself waking up early in the morning, waking up at like 4 a.m. in the morning or 5 a.m. Oh, thank you, Lauren. Lauren made a nice comment about my pillows. Ask your tarot questions in the chat. So if you feel yourself waking up early in the morning and you're like, why am I getting up in the morning? Go outside and look at Venus rising in the eastern horizon, and right before the sun rises. And I think you're going to get some inspiration. You're going to get some ideas on how to move forward. I think everyone is going to start to see some interesting developments happening in their life over the weekend. And I just want to prepare you all for next week. Next week, June 21st, is a big eclipse that's happening. And this eclipse is going to be a doozy, okay? This is the final eclipse in the Cancer Capricorn eclipse cycle that's been going on for 18 months. And it's the end. It'll be the end of a story for you. And depending on your karma and the lessons that you've learned over the last 18 months, it might be something challenging or it might be something very positive. But a lot of the energy around it is very challenging. So I think you're going to see some challenging things happening in the collective, but as well as some really big moments happening for everyone personally. Okay, so AM is asking asking about work. Okay, I'm just going to pull a card for AM. What does AM need to know about work? And what kind of specific question do you have about work? Like maybe when you'll start work again, will your work be stable, that sort of thing? Oh gosh, this card just, I didn't know if it wanted to jump out or not. So I tried to slide it back in, and then it just was like, nope. Oh, wow. So these two cards together reversed are interesting, AM. You got not only the Sun reversed, you got the High Priestess reversed. So the High Priestess reversed tells me that there is a female, possibly a female or a female energy in your workplace that's in a leadership position, and that person doesn't know what they're doing. That you have a bad leader at your job, or someone who is not doing what they should be doing right now. This also tells me the Sun is a male figure. Usually, the Sun is also a leader energy, and this tells me that there is there might be a male figure in your workplace who is not doing their job either. So both these cards reversed is telling me that there's someone who is not doing what they should be doing. They are not, and the Sun reverse is also saying possibly you are not having a good time. You're not having fun at your work. And things are challenging right now. So what do we need to do for AM to get out of this energy, this not fun situation at work? It sounds like the leadership is not doing what it needs to be doing. It sounds like the employees are not having fun anymore. So what should AM do about this negative work situation? What should AM do? Oh, the Chariot says move on. The Chariot says hitch your cart, hitch your steed to a cart and get out of there. So the card says you have to take action. You have to move on. If you're not having fun there, you have to move on and do something else, or make a decision to make the change in your workplace yourself. Okay, I'm going to ask a question for Lauren Blackwood about romance. So what do we need? What does Lauren need to know about romance right now? Oh gosh. So the Three of Wands just popped out super quick. So this means that you are stepping out onto the horizon and you are looking out and seeing all the opportunities romantically for you. This seems like you are in a position where you're surveying and looking at all the fish in the sea. And the Ace of Pentacles indicates that maybe there is someone coming your way, possibly an earth sign, a Virgo, Taurus, or Capricorn. And that they might be a promising relationship, and they might also be kind of someone who works in the financial industry. And the Ace of Pentacles says maybe this relationship might not be fast, because anytime we see Pentacles show up, it means there's some waiting that has to happen for it. But this potential relationship with an earth sign or someone who works in money or something might be coming your way. So and feel free to ask any follow-up questions if you have any. So what does Lauren need to, whenever there's two cards, I always like to pull a third card. What does Lauren need to know about this relationship? Oh, wow. Two of Cups. So this just confirms that I think there is a relationship on the horizon coming your way. And that you are both mutually in the same kind of mindset and feel mutual about each other. So that's good. And you guys, any more tarot questions in the chat, please feel free to ask. I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about. Oh yeah, cool. So that was accurate. You're in the dating scene, you're surveying, and the Pentacles cards, when they come up, they indicate that there has to be some sort of waiting a little bit. Okay, so some interesting things that I've found out while looking at Disneyland and some predictions I have for coming up. As I said, the Venus will be going to the exact point in the sky where it was conjunct the sun on July 17th. And this is the day that Disneyland opens. When I looked at Disneyland's chart, I saw that Disneyland is entering what's called a 6th house perfected year. That means that, and 6th house is the house of bad fortune. And you know, this happens every 12 years, whether it's an entity or whether it's a person. Every 12 years, you go into a 6th house perfected year, which is the house of bad fortune. So during a 6th house perfected year, difficult things tend to happen. But what's especially interesting for Disneyland is not only is Disneyland entering a 6th house perfected year, but Disneyland is also having its nodal return, which happens every 18 years, where the nodes return to the same place in the sky that they were when Disneyland was born. And not only that, Disneyland is having a series of eclipses in its, let me check. In its in its 3rd house, 9th house axis, and that will complete on June 21st. And then Mars will be entering Disneyland's 6th house and staying there for 6 months, and because it's going retrograde in Disneyland's 6th house. So this tells me that there is going to be some really bad things happening at Disneyland for the next 6 months at least, and it will be very intense. And why I was particularly interested in this and why it really pinged me to investigate this was because for those of you who were with me when I was talking about the birth chart of the United States, I said that Mars is going to be entering the 5th house of the United States birth chart. And the 5th house deals with things like children and entertainment and creativity and fun. And if I were to put Disneyland in any house of the United States, I would put Disneyland in the 5th house, because that Disneyland is a place of fun, right? So I've been saying for a while, there's going to be some sort of really challenging, negative energy happening in the 5th house of the United States during the 2nd half of the year. And it's going to be squaring the money house of the United States. And that conjunction of planets that happened in Capricorn, which is the 2nd house, the money house of the United States. So I said there's going to be some sort of energy that's like related to children, related to entertainment, related to fun, that is challenging the economy of the United States, the money of the United States. And it's also going to be at the same time squaring the 8th house of the United States. And as I've been talking about before, there is a lot of really challenging karma in the 8th house of the United States. The 8th house deals with death. The 8th house deals with really, really challenging topics. And this points to the history of this country, which is, this is a country that's founded on the genocide of the Native Americans. It's founded on slavery. It's founded on the oppression of women. And there is going to be this axis between the 2nd house, which is the house of money, the 8th house, which is the house of death, and the 5th house, which is the house of children and entertainment. And so that Disneyland is having all this negative energy at the same time as the United States during the second half of the year is having this negative energy in the children's house. Tells me that there's something's going down at Disneyland when Disneyland opens. And so some random theories that are coming to my head are that when Disneyland reopens, a bunch of kids are going to be going there, and the second wave of the pandemic is going to happen because the disease and the coronavirus will get spread amongst children. And then schools are opening up at the same time. So children will go to Disneyland, they'll spread the coronavirus, they'll go to school, they'll spread the coronavirus. I don't know. I'm throwing things out there. But there is some challenging energy. Like part of me was also thinking, like, because it's Mars is the planet of attack. Mars is the planet of the warrior. It's accidents and injuries. Maybe, you know, I would hate to see an attack at Disneyland. That would be the most awful thing, but that's not outside the realm of possibility, looking at what's happening in both the chart of the United States and the chart of Disneyland. It might also be a type of energy where the children, the youth of the country see a lot of unfairness and inequality happening, and they decide to do a demonstration somehow, either at school or somehow connected to Disneyland or somehow connected to Disney. All of these types of ideas are kind of pinging in my head. The fact that it's happening on July 17th, when Venus is going to this really auspicious place in the sky, is really, really interesting. And I'm just going to pull up the chart of July 17th right now so we can kind of look at it. And it's going to be, July 17th is going to be an interesting week. I think you guys really want to look out for it. I'm going to share my screen. So July 17th happens about 17 days after Pluto and Jupiter conjunct come together for the second time. And this is when we're going to really start to see that second wave of either the virus spreading, or, Jupiter also deals with the police. And so it might be that we decide, as in the citizens of the country decide that we want to try and make some restrictions and some laws on the police, maybe defund the police, maybe abolish the police. And the police, in conjuncting Pluto, decide to really double down and fight back against where they feel that they're being unfairly judged or something. It's going to be sextiling Neptune. Neptune is the planet of ideology. When it's positive, it's a planet of empathy. So this can be really positive, but when it's negative, it deals with disease and it deals with deception. So on July 17th, the sun is going to be still within orb of being opposite Jupiter and Pluto. So the sun is authority, the sun is leadership, the sun is also awareness, shedding light on something, right? So I have a feeling a week prior, something happens a week before July 17th. The sun was trining Neptune, which is a positive alignment. The sun was working with Neptune on creating empathy and opposing kind of the forces of possibly, police who don't want their way of life, their livelihood being challenged. And or maybe like the coronavirus, opposing the coronavirus that is starting to spread. And the Venus is moving into that position where it's at the same part of the sky where it was when it was conjunct the sun, and it's making a nice sextile to Mars, which is conjunct the moon, which is also very positive and very auspicious. So Mars is usually a negative energy, but here Mars is making a sextile to Venus. So a week before July 17th, there's going to be something positive that happens, maybe some sort of positive forward movement regarding the coronavirus. And hopefully that means that maybe Disney decides they don't want to reopen because they want to keep everyone safe. And maybe they're willing to risk their economy to keep their financial situation to keep everyone safe. I don't know. It's really interesting. And when I look at the chart of Disneyland, by the way, this is the chart of Disneyland. I'm going to go ahead and throw on the whole sign system because I feel like that is a little bit more accurate. So looking at this chart for the birth chart of Disneyland, for any of you who know about Disneyland history, I used to, one of my first jobs was working at Disneyland in the costume department. And so I know a little bit of the history. When it first opened, like things weren't ready yet. Some of the rides didn't work. Some of the cement on the sidewalk was not yet dry. And so ladies' heels were sinking into the cement. And this is all indicated here by the Mars in the midheaven. Mars is, the planet of accidents and things not going right. And, nearly conjunct Jupiter. And I can see also the sun nearly conjunct Uranus, the planet of unexpected, disasters happening. So the opening day of Disneyland was not an auspicious election, was not an auspicious time period. I have a feeling Walt Disney did not check with an astrologer prior to opening Disneyland for the first time. Things did not go well. Luckily, Disneyland was able to eventually overcome its bad opening day and do pretty well, right? So when I throw the transit chart on this, so the inner wheel is going to represent the planets where they were when Disneyland opened, and then the outer wheel represents the planets where they are now. As we can see right now, this is just today, Disneyland is having a hard time. And I'm sure that maybe the workers who work at Disneyland are not having a great time because they've been furloughed. They are not getting their paycheck. The ninth house, third house axis tends to indicate that there's been probably a lot of challenges with Disneyland overseas. And we know that there's lots of different parks everywhere in, you know, in France, in China, and I don't know, there's like tons of Disneyland parks everywhere. So probably the foreign parks are probably losing a lot of money right now because of the pandemic. And right now the sun is going through the eighth house of other people's, of investors' money, and the sun is not really making any aspects. So that means, and Mercury, which rules the eighth house, is going to be going retrograde. So that tells us that there's going to be a lot of issues with investor money, probably happening next month, or, you know, and things kind of being very difficult. We also see that the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction in the third house. The third house deals with communication. The third house deals with even things that move, like the vehicles and the rides. It is squaring Neptune. So this tells us that maybe the vehicles in Disneyland, like the rides, the machinery, might not be doing well, possibly because of the virus and the shutdown, and maybe the rides aren't getting repaired, or they aren't being maintained as much as they should. And then possibly when Disneyland does open, maybe the rides are malfunctioning and maybe there's an accident. Just throwing things out there, but this is troublesome to me, right? In a park that's all about movement and fast moving vehicles, and a house that deals with vehicles is being really majorly afflicted here. You know, that tells us that there's room for possibly an accident happening at Disneyland when it reopens. When we cut to that July 17th day that we are very interested in looking at, and I'm going to get to your tarot card questions in a second. Remember, keep in mind that Disneyland is in a sixth house perfected year. The sixth house is the house of bad fortune, bad luck. And as you can see, Mars is going through the sixth house and making on July 17th a square to, it looks to Venus in the ninth house in Cancer. And the ninth house deals with foreign travel. The ninth house deals with ideology, education. As you can see, the sun will be opposing the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and the sun will also be, and the sun, which rules the 10th house of public image. There's something negative that's going to come out related to Disney's public image. And there's something negative that's going to happen with a ninth house area related to ideology, related to, you know, maybe something with their foreign parks. It's really interesting. See, these red lines are real serious. There's also the sun is making a square to Neptune. Between the ninth and the 12th house is the house of bad spirit. And Neptune is the planet of disease. I definitely see the spreading of disease. I see accidents and illness. I see some really challenging things happening with Disneyland, y'all. I would say don't go to Disneyland when it reopens on July 17th, because the astrology of it is concerning. Okay, so I'm going to pull some more cards for everyone. Okay, I see CH is asking, when is my bad Disney year? You mean your, Crystal, are you asking when is your sixth house perfected year? Not for a little while. It has passed. But I'll tell you when it's coming up. So Lauren is asking July 3rd is her birthday. Lauren, let's see what's happening July 3rd. And hey, Lauren, if you ever want to give me your birthday and birth time and the location that you were born in, I would love to do your chart. And that would be really fun. Okay, let me pull up July 3rd. And if you guys have any other tarot card questions, I do have to go feed the horses very soon, but I can be here a few more minutes. Oh, wow. It looks like July 3rd is kind of a quiet day. So this is what Lauren's birthday is going to look like. Interestingly, okay, so we are still in what's called the orb of the Pluto-Jupiter conjunction that is happening. I think June 30th is when the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is exact. And you guys, the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is a big deal. So it happened first time this year, I want to say around, January. This only happens once every, when does the Jupiter? I lost it. I think it only happens once every 13 years. So the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is a big deal. It's called the Great Conjunction. And it's really important because Jupiter is in its fall right now. It's spreading a virus. That's what the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is doing this year. It's spreading the virus. And so July 3rd is a few days after the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. And as you can see, it makes a kind of a loose little sextile to Neptune, which is the planet of dreams. And Neptune is squaring the moon on that day. And the moon is in Sagittarius, which is a house that deals with kind of big ideology. And it's a house that's ruled by Jupiter, which because Jupiter is in its fall. I worry a little bit because the moon is opposite Venus on that day and being provided for by a fallen moon, but by fallen Jupiter, I mean, that day might be a little bit emotionally difficult. And like, you know, there might be, and I see that the sun is squaring Mars. So I worry that particular day, that in the collective, we might be having trouble with authority figures. We might, you know, that might be a bad day for cops. Luckily, the sun is, and it is it's Mercury retrograde too. So there's the opportunity there for miscommunication and difficulty with authority figures, difficulty with men that day, difficulty with people being deceived easily by misinformation. So it's kind of, you know, I think the day after is, well, the day after the moon will be in Capricorn. I think the day before possibly will be a little bit of a better day. Oh yeah. Yeah. If possible, celebrate your birthday on July 2nd instead. July 2nd is a nice day. The sun, although it might be a bad day for communication because the Mercury retrograde is combust the sun. So July 2nd and 3rd, it's going to be a day with a lot of miscommunication. But it's going to be a day with power struggles and difficulty with authority figures and misinformation. But July 2nd is a happier day. And even though there's miscommunication. Let's see what does Lauren need to know about her birthday. I'm gonna one final question. What does Lauren need to know about her birthday? And then I'll go to. Okay. So Lauren, your birthday is actually going to be pretty positive. You're going to be getting a lot of messages coming in from people, and you're going to get a lot of communication from your friends coming in. So that's good. In fact, all these cards like just jumped out at me. The Two of Wands indicates that maybe you are really contemplative, and you kind of see a lot of opportunities on the horizon for you. And so I think, you know, outside of you, there might be some people struggling with, you know, these two cards came up, which deals with sickness and death. So in the collective, there's going to be maybe, you know, some issues with the pandemic and all of that happening. But the two cards that indicate that you are doing fine. Just do make sure that you stay safe and, you know, wash your hands and do all of that stuff to make sure that the pandemic doesn't affect you. You know, wash your hands, wear your mask, all of that stuff. Okay, I'm going to pull a card for Janine, and then we'll talk about the 6th house perfected year. What does Janine need to know? What does Janine need to? I'm going to ask specifically about your check. Oh, there we go. So you got the 7 of Wands. So this says that you are in the power, like you are high on a hill. You're in the power position, but you kind of have to defend yourself, and you kind of have to. This is saying that you have to stand up for yourself, and you have to kind of tell them, you know, pay me. This is the card of you kind of have to fight a little bit. Let me pull 2 more cards. But yeah, the 2 cards just popped out. The Queen of Wands says that you're good with that Wands energy, which is the energy of fire and of creativity and of being the leader. So you have this, and you have to kind of take your wheel of fortune into your own hands, and you have to, you know, be 7 of Wands energy and fight for what is owed to you. So you gotta, you know, get someone on the phone. You gotta do what you have to do. Obviously communicate politely, you know, using the Queen energy and all of that, but it says that you're kind of going to have to fight for it a little bit. Okay, so let's talk about annual perfections. So annual perfections is this timing technique that Crystal asked about, that kind of gives you the themes for the year. And you, Crystal, I know, because Crystal has the same birth chart that I have, is in a 3rd house perfected year right now, which is ruled by Jupiter. And the 3rd house deals with communication, deals with contracts. So Crystal may have been noticing that she's communicating a lot more with people than she usually does. during previous years. And she's she's communicating with people a lot. The third house is also that house that deals with siblings. She's been communicating with her sibling more than usual. And the third house is also the house that deals with writing. And I know, that writing has been a communication style that has been going on more this year. Right now, and also the theme of Jupiter being in its fall, because Jupiter rules your third house. So this year until September 2nd, 2020 has been a third house perfected year. That's all about communication. That's all about contracts, either signing contracts or breaking contracts. I know when I entered my third house perfected year, I signed a book deal contract, and I've been doing a lot of foreign communication, because Jupiter is the planet that deals with foreign countries and foreign communication. So like my mentee who I'm mentoring lives in Saudi Arabia, and I know Crystal went to Fiji. So communicating with people in foreign countries has been a major theme for this last year as well. I know a lot of my friends who I communicate with live in foreign countries. So just a lot of communication this year. Then on September 2nd, 2020, Crystal and I will enter a fourth house perfected year. And the fourth house deals with where you live. And it also deals with the foundation of of your stability. I mean, it also deals with your family, and your family could also include like your pets. So 2020 to 2021 will be a fourth house perfected year where you're dealing with your home. Maybe you'll be, because Jupiter will be entering, Jupiter will still be in the fourth house. You'll be maybe upgrading your living situation, moving to a bigger place, or just changing your living situation, changing where you live. Then 2021 to 2022 will be a fifth house perfected year. And the fifth house deals with the house of good fortune. The fifth house, so from September 2nd to 2021 to September 2nd, 2022, you'll be in the house of good fortune, which also deals with creativity and the things that you create. And for me personally, I know my book will get published September 1st, 2021, so the day before my fifth house perfected year. So I have a feeling my fifth house perfected year is all going to be about like my book is published. And I'm thrilled that my book is getting published during the house of good fortune and not the house of bad fortune, because I have a feeling that's kind of indicating that the book is going to do all right. And so I'll probably be heavily focused on creativity that year. And my book is like literally like my baby, like a thing that I created. And so fifth house perfected year also so sometimes deals with pregnancy, like people will get pregnant and have a baby on fifth house perfected year. That's not happening for me or Crystal, because we're both spayed. But your creative thing that you made is going out in the world, like a baby is going out in the world. So that's 2020. So 2021 to 2022 will be a fifth house perfected year. And then 2022 to 2023 will be the sixth house perfected year, which is the house of bad fortune. Here's the thing though. In our chart, in me and Crystal's chart, the house of bad fortune, the sixth house, is ruled by Jupiter, which is a benefic, positive planet. So the sixth house also deals with small animals, and it also deals with health. So you can mitigate sixth house problems by being heavily focused on doing charitable work for small animals and personally, like that, well, that's what Crystal does all the time. That's what like I do all like that. My life is charity to small animals, basically. So like, and it's ruled by a benefic planet in our chart. If it was ruled by Mars or something, I would be like, oh gosh, kind of worried. But it's ruled by a benefic planet. So if you make your sixth house perfected year, that's 2022 to 2023, all focused on benefiting small animals and doing work for small animals, you can mitigate a lot of the problems that come up during that year. Any other questions? Alrighty. Speaking of animals, I have to go feed the horses. And any last questions before I go? Thank you guys so much for joining me for this live Astro talk. I'm going to be having it every Thursday and at the same time. So if you ever want some tarot cards pulled, hello, I can't talk today. Definitely come on by every Thursday and ask your questions in the chat. I will pull your cards. I'll also talk about the astrology, and we'll have a good time overall. If you have any specific things that you would like me to talk about in future chats, definitely leave them in the comments below. Also, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell to receive notifications. Thank you guys so much. Pay attention to what happens this weekend, because Venus will be rising as a morning star, and she'll be a morning star for a little while. So this is a very auspicious time, and pay attention to what happens next week for you during the eclipse. We'll talk all about the eclipse next week because it's going to be a big deal. Alrighty, I love you all, and I have to figure out how to end this live with Zoom. Okay.